Good morning. Good morning, good people. Today is Saturday, April 19th, 2024. This is Saturday, the day before Easter, Holy Saturday. This is while Jesus is dead. He's descended into hell to release the people like Adam from Hades. But here we are, west of Sin City, east of Death Valley, south of Area 51. We are in hard scrabble territory. And the big question of the day is, Miss Tranquil, where are you? Good morning, Miss Tranquil, wherever you are. It's not really a question, that's a statement. Good morning, Miss Tranquil, bonk, bonk, beep, bonk, wherever you are. Peace. Okay, yeah, so it's kind of from a spiritual thing. This is G.school, so this is the 2 days of the week that we focus on the spiritual side, because our purpose, our goal, our reason for being here is to help our students and other people experience life. We, on the belief that we are spirits, we are spirit with a body. We're not a body with a spirit. We're not a person with a soul. We are a soul with a body, a spirit with a body. And that spirit continues after the body expires. Let's say it that way. So that is the fundamental belief. So we are experiencing life. And I wouldn't even say this life, because that implies there are other lives. We are experiencing life. And life is the unique, let's say that is the label for this unique existence that we have, life. So we are experiencing life. Our goal is to help our students and interested people experience life. What just happened? Magic. And we focus on 4 parts. So it's like a 4-legged table. 1 leg is physical, 1 leg is mental, 1 leg is emotional, and 1 leg is spiritual. And just like any table, if you have 3 good legs and 1 bad leg, either you can't put any weight on the bad leg because the table will tip, everything will slide and fall off. So either you can't put anything on that corner, you can't stack the table up the same way you could as if you had 4 solid legs. Imagine that, 4 solid legs, solidly attached. There are people who start out, for example, with one religion. They become very devout in it, very strong leg, attached to the table. It's part of their being, who they are. And then one day they have an epiphany, and it's like, oh no, that was gone. Whammo, that leg just fell off the table. It's no longer solidly attached. And I would say it usually goes through a period of, that leg is getting wobbly. I need to replace it with something. And then you got to build up another strong leg. But our identity, if you have a strong faith, our identity is tied into that. And if that goes away, who you are changes. So think of it as a 4-legged table. You need 4 strong legs. 1 is the physical. Be physically strong. Be able to use the body as to the best of its ability, right? So take care of yourself, fitness and health, what you ingest, and then work out, use the body. Make sure you're able to do things. You're not hampered in experiencing this life. 2nd is mental. Always be learning. Life is our classroom. Have an attitude of a student, not somebody who knows everything. because even the smartest person knows a tiny fraction of what's going on. Third would be emotional. So we are a spirit with a body that has tremendous emotional capacity. We need to learn to control it, just like we learn to use tools. So our emotions are tools. They're also means for experiencing life. Next is the spiritual. And so the idea is we are given this gift of life. We get to experience life. We're a soul and we get to experience life. We get to experience being baryonic for a very short period of time, just a tiny fraction of time. We get to experience it. And we can do whatever we want, but it seems that the best thing would be to honor that gift, to take care of the gift, to use it as to the best of its ability. So that's why we're here, to help our students and interested people experience life, not experience this life, as we used to say, not on the journey through this life, to help experience life. Because when it's over, the soul will continue. And our second belief or third belief is that how we act now has an impact on what happens next. And over time, different people have, different souls have tried to help us on best experience life, Jesus being the creator in the form of man, right? And he said, okay, if you want to be like the Father and me, if you want to be one with us, so if you want to be back to being spirit, if you want to be with us, you need to just follow my commandments. Because apparently, if we were souls before that, if we were non-baryonic spirit, pure energy, we didn't have the same sort of consciousness that we do as humans. So the idea of, well, when we get to heaven, everybody's going to be really healthy and happy, and we're going to be in physical bodies. That kind of doesn't make sense. It's good TV, but it kind of doesn't really make sense. It would be more like we would be back to spirit, a different type of entity. And as Jesus said, when it gets to, and asked the question, well, who will this woman be married to? Which one of the brothers that she married was she? And Jesus said, it doesn't work that way. So instead of, we're going to be running around for all eternity, having bliss and eating grapes and things like that, no, it would be something different. Where emotions are no longer compelling us, driving us, causing us to do things. So that's a long introduction, but to just cap that off, this G.school is not intended for people who are already saved or people who are already successful. This is for people who do not believe they're saved and or who are not successful. And success equals money times meaning and purpose. So if you are not acting such that everything you do matters, and what you do is in service to other people, and you put money into it, not just intentions, not just sitting in your room saying a 10-second prayer for somebody where God does the work, you actually go out and help people. And it's not giving them advice, it's actually doing things that have a direct impact on their life, like feeding them, giving them something to eat, drink, clothing, housing, helping them if they're sick, and visiting them in prison, things like that. If you're doing things like that, that's what Jesus commanded us to do. So, okay, we're 10 minutes in. Our theme of today is the categorical imperative. So that's going to help us know what to do. This was formulated by A German, he might have been Austrian, I don't remember, Immanuel Kant, Kant. Great thinker, one of the great thinkers. He was a ethical realist. Doesn't matter what that means. But one of the things he came up with is the categorical imperative. It's a way to know a way to figure out what you should do, what is the right thing to do, how you can act ethically, what maxims you should follow. And there's kind of two parts: universalizability principle and respect for persons. But we'll focus on universalizability for a second first, and that is to imagine, okay, what do you want to do? You think of, okay, well, should I do this? Is this the right thing to do? And in the simplest formulation, the categorical imperative would be, well, imagine it's a law that you had to do that. Everybody had to do it. And then ask the question, if everybody did it, would the world be a better place? And if the answer is no, don't do it. Okay, very simple. So that's universalizability. Take the issue, universalize it, meaning make everybody have to do it. It's a law that it has to be done. Step back and say, now, is the world a better place? If I can justify harming this person or stealing, if I can justify that, and if everybody got to do it, would the world be a better place? I'm hungry, I need to steal a loaf of bread. Well, if everybody got to steal a loaf of bread because they were hungry, would the world be a better place? And the answer should be no, so don't steal bread. The second part, or another part of the categorical imperative, is the respect for persons. And it's basically, don't treat people as objects. Treat them as people in themselves. This kind of gets to the end justifies the means justify the ends, etc. But you don't use people as objects. So one of the problems, or one of the manifestations of people that are in survival mode mentality, is they see other people as objects. You're either in my way, I want something and you're in my way, or you are a means for me to get what I want. I don't want to sleep outside, I want to sleep inside. You have the ability to give me a bed to sleep in, so I'm going to use you to get that bed. So I'm going to say whatever I think you want to hear in order for me to get the bed. Then once I get the bed, I'm going to go back to being who I am. And when you're in survival mode, in order to survive, you often have to think that way. People are objects. They're either obstacles or they're tools. That's it. They're not entities in themselves. I don't care about their feelings and emotions. I don't care about treating them fairly. I need to survive. The problem, that's not the problem. The problem is when you are no longer in survival mode. You need to drop, shed survival mode mentality. You need to cut it loose. Because if you treat actual people as objects, they're not going to want to deal with you. They're not going to trust you. They are going to get nothing in return. You will not reciprocate kindness with them. They'll offer their hand and you'll chew off their fingers. Whatever. They'll offer you A and you'll take it and then ask for more instead of being appreciative. So the categorical imperative would be helpful in that. Now, let's see. Today is Holy Saturday. Tomorrow is the resurrection. A lot of Protestants call it Resurrection Day. Why? Because we're not Catholic. We're not Catholic. We're not calling it Easter. That's a Catholic holiday. It's a pagan holiday. We're not going to do it. And I would say that heads down the road to being legalistic. You're focusing on the whole, not the donut. You're focusing on the label, not the event. It's what we call the event versus the event. So whatever you want to call it, I call it Easter because that's what I grew up being taught. And I don't see any reason to change. I don't see any reason to be politically correct and to basically take a stand anti-Catholic. So I'm not going to call it Easter because that means I'm supportive of the Catholics and they're my enemies. Okay, missing the point entirely. So tomorrow is Easter, and that is the day Christianity is built on. If there was no Easter, if there was no resurrection, there is no Christianity. Jesus just becomes another wise teacher like Buddha, like perhaps Lao Tzu, like any of 1,000 sages. That's what Jesus becomes. Just like them. No different. Resurrection is the key. And we are starting to have really, really, really good reason to believe it. The preponderance of the evidence is shifting that Jesus was resurrected. There's no question he was an historical person. There's no question about his being crucified and dying. That's not the argument. The argument is, was he resurrected? And we can kind of backfill and say the fact that he was crucified meant he had some level of significance because crucifixion was reserved for a special breed of cat. Somebody that was really bad. So no question he was a historical person, and he was crucified and died by the Romans. The question is, was he resurrected? That's the only thing. And there's good evidence to show that he was, and that physical, actual evidence is the Shroud of Turin, what we call the Shroud of Turin. And so in the book, which I don't have a copy here, and time is racing, we build the argument that on one side you have the carbon dating from 1988 that says it was made in, that's about 700 years old. On the opposite of that is there are defects in the carbon dating. There's questions about it. Additionally, there's other things that can be traced back. Like, for example, there is I think it's a book or a painting that has pictures in it, and it goes back to the 600s, 7th century, and it has pictures of what is on the shroud in such detail that all of these things wouldn't be on there unless the shroud was used to produce it. And then there's something else that brings it back to the 300s, good hard evidence. Oh, the head thing, the Sudarium, where the blood is the same type of blood and the blood stains match. If you put it over the shroud where the head would be, the patterns of blood stains match, which would be impossible to do otherwise. So that gets it back to around 300. And then if you look at the linen itself, there's good reason to believe that the linen itself is 2,000 years old. And the final, coup de grace is the fact that we don't know how it was made. It's not painted on. And so the preponderance of the evidence is that is the actual, and it makes sense that it would be the burial cloth and the story of its origins, that it was in Constantinople in the 300s. Constantinople was sacked. Frenchmen took it back to France, kept it hidden for a long period of time. Then it ended up in Italy. So anyway, today is Saturday. There should be a day of meditation, just thinking about tomorrow's resurrection, what it means to each of us. And I will say, and cut.